Hello. I guess we were just blurry for the thumbnail. I'm not sure which Astromatrix tarot this is, but Sagittarius season is off to a rough start. I mean, it isn't. It's fine. Um, but Sagittarius season is starting the way that Sagittarius season is starting. Mars just went into Sagittarius. Mercury's been in Sagittarius. And my North Node personally is in Sagittarius, so it was a little oof times already. But oh look, there's the High Priestess with the Moon, the Wheel of Fortune, the Fool. Whoa! Look at all these majors: High Priestess, the Moon, the Wheel of Fortune, the Fool, and then the Ace of Wands. Wait. Anyway, the oofness of Sag season already, apparently, or today / tonight. It got me thinking about how like Scorpio rules the occult, like that which is hidden and kept hush hush, but how Sagittarius rules like philosophy and higher education. And so it's almost like what was discovered in Scorpio is brought to light in Sagittarius. It's discussed and talked about in Sagittarius, but it may not necessarily be it in its fullness. Um, it may be more of the like the ramifications, not ramifications. It's like instead of, it's almost like the math of Scorpio remains behind the scenes, but the answers are shown in Sagittarius. So you see like 2, 4, 6, and 8, but you don't see 1 plus 1 equals 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, or 1 plus 1 plus, like all that stuff behind the scenes. Anyway, I was like, oh, then I can see that, being like science. Like if alchemy were Scorpio, then science would be Sagittarius. Anyway, it's trying times already. And I'm like, ooh. But honestly, it's kind of like procrastination. So. This video, I should start like taking these labels off. This video is not sponsored by anything but to the encouragement that if you do partake in any mind body altering substance, you do so responsibly. It literally doesn't matter, but this is not a sponsored video. Anyway, hey Janelle, how you doing? I was like, oh my gosh, Sagittarius season, I'm ready to feel so good. Maybe it's the square to Saturn. It's probably the square to Saturn in Pisces. That's probably what it is. Excuse me. Which was trining when everything was in Scorpio. Anyway, how are you doing? Did I already say that? I'm going to do the thing that I've been doing lately, which is to get 3 cards for the previous season, 1 card for the top of the current season, and then 3 cards for an overall of the current season. I don't fully remember what Scorpio season was. And like I said, I'm not sure. I think it is. Yeah, this is the full deck. Okay. I have 2 versions of the Astro Matrix Tarot. You can see their QR codes on the back. In the first version, they sent me a print edition, where all the QR codes are the same. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're all the same. Like, no, I was so excited to like get on my phone and they were all the same. And somebody over at Astromatrix HQ must have known that they sent me that version because without me saying anything, a few days later in the mail, I had a version, like a corrected version. Um, where the different cards correspond to the different QR codes. And it brings it up in the app. It's like a digital book. But anyway, it just feels like, for me personally, Scorpio season brought some things to my awareness in many different ways and for like many different reasons and purposes. And during the season, for me, it was like, what do I do with this information? Like, how do I, not necessarily how do I process this, but kind of like, now that I know this, how does anything change if anything changes? And it seems that today, maybe it's the Mars squaring Saturn. Maybe it's, I'm pretty sure the sun, because we just, like, still the sun, because we just entered Sagittarius season squaring Saturn, where it's like, okay, so like you thought about it, now it's time to do it. And my little North Node in Sagittarius is like, no, I don't want to. But I do. Anyway, enough about me. Let's pull a card for Patrick. I should have done this before, but I talked about me so much. You know, I wonder if I can read these without my glasses. We'll see. I'll try. An attempt will be made. Ooh, ooh. Like 1, 2, 3, please. Jupiter, bringer of fortune, is in Taurus. Excuse me, with Uranus. There we go. Ooh, face down. That is hilarious. I just saw that card recently in a different deck. Ooh. 4 of Cups and the Strength card. So maybe this 4 of Cups is more of the Scorpio season for me personally. Maybe it resonates for you, maybe it doesn't. I'm gonna get me out of the way, so hopefully it's like less me and more just like what's going on from my mouth and my perspective, apparently, obviously. But like this was the Scorpio season, like, what do I do with this? Like, so am I going to do something different? Am I changing the way that I navigate life and make choices? Or am I just like going to sit and wait for it to play out? Kind of like an observation mode, just like taking everything in, but also like getting really in touch and in tune with myself in a way. And like Scorpio season and a little bit before, but I think mostly Scorpio season for me was also like, of course, I feel like nervous about doing something that I've never done before. That's not me falling into an old pattern. It's because I'm doing something that I've never done before. And that's perfectly reasonable. Of course, I was afraid of doing this or doing that because I literally couldn't see. And that was perfectly reasonable. Of course, I feel this way because of blah, blah, blah. And it's not because of old trauma patterns and cycles and whatever. It's because I'm in a new situation and this is a perfectly acceptable thing to be feeling and thinking right now. I was like, oh, okay. But at the same time, it was like, maybe it was like Sagittarius pushing in, like the more typical energy of Sagittarius pushing in a little bit. Like I know why I've been doing things the way that I've been doing them up until this point. It's perfectly reasonable and it got me here. But now I kind of want to like do something like drastic. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, everything was reasonable for the time, but there's a lot of restrictions that don't apply anymore. And I feel like this is something that I've been experiencing in phases. It's the reason why I moved out. It's the reason why I got the job that I got. Um, because there was something bigger that was more frightening to me that I could feel was coming. And I was like, okay, in order for me to feel comfortable in taking that leap of faith, since this is I'm pretty sure they're all the fool. Let's see, I can show you. But in order for me to feel comfortable taking that bigger leap down the line, I'm gonna like have this like minor leap. So like it's still a leap for me, but it's not like crazy, right? Like I'm not about to fly, I'm about to leap. But now that I've leapt the leap, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of ready to fly. Come on, there we go. See, you scan the QR code. I already have the Astro Matrix app downloaded. It's the Fool. They're all the Fool. This is the first version of the deck that I got. But anyway, which in and of itself, sometimes it means something. It means that it means that it's all brand new, you know? So anyway, this was Scorpio season for everything that I mentioned. And then Sagittarius season is like, it's where the strength comes in. It's where it's the like, okay, it's time to do it. Now for me, because strength is Leo, right? My Chiron is in Leo and it trines my North Node in Sagittarius. So it is going to be like this thing that honestly, like all of the healing and life experience and everything else prepares me for to take. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but again, for me, with my astrological transit specifically, and this is the Patrick part of it, it was and has been very like these are the wounds that I used to carry, and these are the reasons why I used to make the choices and decisions that I made and act and behave in the way that I acted and behaved. And now that circumstances are different enough because I've healed enough, both mentally, emotionally, and literally physically, after I got my eyes like worked on, after the cataracts were removed, it's like things are drastically different. And if I do have a moment of like hesitation or fear or whatever, oh my gosh, I'm watching this anime and there's this warrior in the anime who's like trembling, but he's like strong AF. And they're like, and I literally just said that when I ended the last one, when I was like, I hope you get everything you need, including like courage and bravery or whatever. And it's only courageous or brave if you're afraid when you do it. Anyway, literally was just watching it. But it's like, yeah, all of that stuff is perfectly understandable. But because of everything that I've gone through and because of what my trauma response and fear pattern was, like I would allow that to stop me from making choices and decisions. Now it's the realization and the knowing that I don't have to. Even though I'm afraid, even though this could go wrong or that could go wrong, or I might get this or do that or whatever, it doesn't mean that I don't try. So, excuse me. And I'm looking at this cup, and it's almost like in Scorpio season / extrapolate to the past because now I'm on this Leo Chiron thing, North Node Sagittarius thing. It's like when it was offered before, it was like a sip. But now under strength, it's this whole river. Cool. So that's Patrick. For anyone who's curious, Bottom of the deck was the Six of Cups, which is somebody in Scorpio, which is the Sun in Scorpio. Sun in Scorpio, Moon in Cancer, and Leo. That is a Sun Moon trine. Cool. All right. So I should timestamp this. I will timestamp this. I just gotta grab my keyboard off the floor really quick. We're gonna call it. Oh, I love being live on my desktop. I get to see the time when I'm typing the timestamp. Basically, let's see. Patrick. Ish, LOL. LOL. 0000. On to the cards at 16 minutes. Okay. So that's been my Scorpio and already Sagittarius. But I guess I'm excited because, like, I should have. Anyway, we're already in. This is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, as like, if Sagittarius is the expression of what was discovered in Scorpio, and is the exploration, is the seeking out, it's almost like Scorpio or Sagittarius is the testing of the hypothesis that was generated in Scorpio. So it's like, well, let me go out into the real world and like see if this makes sense. Like I have to prove my hypothesis true. It's not enough to just claim for something to be a certain way and then like that's it. That's not Jupiterian. That's not Sagittarian. It's like, okay, I need proof. Gotta go out and gotta like see if it holds up in real life. Because if I go and make a claim, I want to be able to back it up, you know? But then Capricorn is the building upon that. Capricorn is when we start to get a little bit of an understanding and we can really like use it and work it in real life to make sound reasonable, logical choices and decisions, to have at least a working basic foundational knowledge of how things go. And then you get into the Aquarius and the Pisces after that. Uranus, Scorpio, rising, Leo, moon, stellium, Cancer, sun. Ooh. That's a what? Sun, Uranus, trine. This is good. I like the black cherry. All right. So let's do this. Did I use the SKT last time when I did Scorpio? Anyway. All right. 3 cards for. Ooh. Got one of them. These cards are trying to go. 10 of Swords like went in reverse. It didn't come out though. I'm just trying to keep these upright. So the first card, Moon in Sagittarius. Oh, that's way too many. Way too many. We're doing 2 cards at the most. Thank you. Second card is face down. I feel like that's been happening lately. Third card for Sun in. Too many. Scorpio season. Where does Scorpio season leave us? Where does Leo season begin us? Leo. Sagittarius season. Okay, maybe that's not as bad. We have a sun moon square. The cards face up right now. Moon in Sagittarius for uh, Scorpio season. Like that's leading Scorpio season. Our introduction into Sagittarius season is the sun in Gemini, which is interesting because it's like the moon was then where we are now. That could be like subtle pulls or light intuitive guidance. But when the sun catches up, we catch it in Gemini, which is the opposite of Sagittarius, rather than it being in Sagittarius. Now we're gonna have a full moon Gemini early in Sagittarius season, and maybe that's what like this is reflective of. But it's interesting that the sun is like completely opposite. All right. Sag season overall. And I'm going to try not to be on for too long because it's already 1 o'clock in the morning. If this video like cuts out or whatever. Ooh, how many cards is that? That's too many. All right. 2 cards at the most. So, ooh. Oh, these have been so interesting. Ooh, how many is this? 2 cards, and then one more third card for Sagittarius season overall. Got it. This is very reminiscent of bottom of the deck is strength. Ba-ba-ba. Da-da-da-da. Heavy solar, heavy Leonine energies. This honestly makes me think of Libra season. So our introduction into Sagittarius season is the Ten of Swords. But the first card of like Sagittarius season overall is the Sun. And Libra season, I'm pretty sure it was Libra season, like the first thing was the Three of Swords. But the energy of Libra season overall was like gorgeous. But I guess because it was like the sun, the energy of the sun is opposite to where it actually is. Because it's Sun and Gemini, Ten of Swords. Anyway. So, Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands cards, I like to look at how the illustrator portrays them. Because some nine of Wands are like battered, beat up, bloody, bruised, like at the end of their rope, could kill over at any moment. Some of the Nine of Wands are like in the Witch's Tarot, it's like very powerful, very like, I've been here since the beginning of time and I'll be here until the end of time and still I will hold my post. Nothing is getting past me. And just like immaculate, you know? So although it's like very like it's like almost like although the situation could be the same, the perspective and the attitude that one brings, excuse me, can make a drastic difference. So with this one, he is bandaged and it feels like he is like leaning on this wand for support, but he's also still got like a lot of fight left in him. He's not going down at anytime soon. Also the tattoos, it's given me almost like Maui and how like every victory, everything that Maui overcame became a tattoo. It also it makes me think of the energy where it's like someone who has a scar from something, and then they incorporate the scar into a tattoo. It's a tattoo that means something related to one's life experience. Because of that, it's almost given me like a Herculean 12 labors energy as well. That was supposed to be 10, but they were like, oh, well, you cheated on 2 of them, so they don't count. And it's like, okay, whatever. Um, so there's resilience. And it's almost, again, because it's moon in Sagittarius, it's almost a resilience in Scorpio season that was born from a goal in the future, right? It's almost like this part kind of sucks, but it's a part of my 5-year plan, 10-year plan, like going out in the Capricorn. But it's like, it's something that's necessary to get where I want to go. And where I want to go is worth what I have to endure right now. And again, with the tattoos, it's like it's all going to serve a purpose in the end. And because this person knows that, even though they are like leaning on the wand for support, their spirit is still strong. Ooh, and then we got the Seven of Wands, which is Mars and Leo. We've already, like, this is a lot of fire on the table, honestly. I mean, we're in Sag season. I'm not surprised. But especially like coming out of Scorpio season, but like that's how it happens. It goes from Scorpio water to Sagittarius fire. But I don't know. I feel like there has to be something in there because Scorpio is Scorpio and Sagittarius is Sagittarius, and they immediately follow each other. I feel like in the zodiac wheel, those are probably the 2 most extreme, like just like off a stereotypic zodiac trope, to go from Scorpio to Sagittarius. It's that, like, you know what? I realize that nothing matters anymore. And I might as well go for the gold. You know what I mean? Because Aqua and Pisces are pretty similar. Maybe Pisces and Aries, but also like just because like Aries is so much of a doer and Pisces is so much of a dreamer. I'm trying to like go through all of them. Maybe Leo to Virgo is another one that's kind of like, I don't know, anyway. Next is Mars in Leo with the Seven of Wands. So it's like the sun has come out and this person is feeling like renewed. There's something interesting here. It feels a little Benjamin Button-y, where it's like this person ages in reverse. And I'm looking at, because I was looking at the mountains or the hills in the back before. And it's almost like the greenery has like crept up under his feet or under their feet. So it's almost like this area that was dry and maybe seemed kind of desolate. Now it's like something is beginning to bear fruit or something is beginning to be validated. And of course, as something is beginning to be validated, like it'll cause like a second wind, right? It's like I'm doing the hard work because I know it's going to pay off later, but man, I am exhausted. But then, like, when you see it start paying off, it's like, oh, okay, like I can keep doing this. Like, this isn't so bad. The third card is Jupiter and Gemini. with the Eight of Swords, which is not the trajectory that I was necessarily expecting. But maybe this is almost like a 9, 7, 8. These are not in order, but we do have 7, 8, 9. Maybe this is like a either like this path or that path. Either we feel like we can keep going, or we fall into some kind of despair because we're not seeing whatever payoff or results we wanted to see or that we were expecting to see. If this isn't either or, I would say that this is, it's like these are the areas in which we do see our efforts paying off from this Nine of Wands perspective. And these are the areas that we just don't see it. And it's almost like we're just not aware that this is also happening. It's like only the divine knows how our destinies have shifted. Or it's like, it's just like there's more to the picture that we don't know yet because we haven't experienced it. Like, because you made this choice and decision to go to Amsterdam, you are now going to be in Amsterdam at the same time as this other person. And you have a fated connection, and maybe you two are supposed to meet in 5 years in Belgium. But because you chose to go to Amsterdam now, and because that person chose to go to Amsterdam now, that meeting, that fated connection has been accelerated. On your original timeline, you weren't going to go to Amsterdam. So it wouldn't have been until you decided to go to Belgium in 5 years that you would have met. But because you like towed the line or held the line, it's like you do it, you see it, you go. And I love how the crow was looking over at that sun, almost as if like this sun being there, this shift in energy, this renewal from the 9 to the 7 was the signal to like cue something else up. So now that we have the 3 of Scorpio red, starting out with this 10 of Swords for like how I keep saying the wrong season, how Sagittarius season is starting. Like I'm looking at the vultures. Vultures signaling symbols of transformation. They're decomposers. They take what is rotten, return the nutrients to the earth for it to then breed and bring forth new life. And it's funny, or it's interesting, because I remember the 10 of Swords in the Witch's Tarot coming out with the owl and the tree. Like, did it really happen? Also, there may be a little bit of like an emotional overwhelm heading into Sagittarius season, just because at the conclusion of Scorpio season, it's like we see puddles, but there's not a lot of water. And then there's this whole like lake at the beginning of Sagittarius season. It goes from like barely any water to like so much water. And then look, there's the sun down back there. That sun. Also, because we have Jupiter in Gemini, and then we have Sun in Gemini. Hey, Holly, how you doing? So just like how there was this energy of like there are all these things that are also queued up to happen now. There are all of these other things that are like more likely to transpire and occur now than they were before, but they happen in a way that we don't see them. With the Ten of Swords, it's like now there's illumination there. And because this is Jupiter in Gemini, it's almost like Jupiter is so big and Jupiter is so expansive that it's not surprising. It's almost like how you can live your whole life on Earth and not visit every single place, right? It's some people like you can live your whole life in a country and not even see like hit up all the touristy spots, right? Because sometimes I'll be like, I'm talking to my buddy for my trip later. And he's like, I don't know, like talk to my wife. She's the one that's traveled more than me. And I'm like, what? Like you've lived your whole life over there. Like you ain't got nothing. But if somebody asks me about anything in the US, I live my whole life here. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen everything. I haven't been everywhere in the country. But anyway, like with the Jupiter expansion in that area, it's almost like it becomes available to you before you even make contact with it, right? It's like if someone's like, hey, like, I'm going to pay for your food, your booking, your hotel, like everything, but you don't know that somebody paid for it until you like show up to check in. You're like, hey, I'm so and so. I'm here to check in for the weekend. I'm like, oh, like everything's already paid for. You have a comprehensive package that includes penthouse views, unlimited room service, literally anything that you want, and it's already paid for. And you're like, what? By who? And it's like some rando who knew that you were coming and wanted you to have a good time. With the sun in Gemini, it's like then we experience it, then we see it. So this is actually playing quite well into the moon in Sagittarius. But it feels like this is another where it's like I have to, sometimes I try to keep the human condition in mind as I read these. So to me, it's almost like, excuse me, it almost reads as so out of left field, or it's so like blindsiding that like that's that like emotional overwhelm Ten of Swords energy. Because the moon in Sagittarius was again, it was like it was this belief or this hope for the future, or it was this knowing that something else will occur that made the suckiness of a now moment that may be in the past worth it. But when it actually happens, it happens in a different way. And that wasn't Scorpio season, but that message did come out a few times. It's the thing that comes with like acquisition, that comes with baggage. Like when you acquire anything, not anything, when you acquire some things, it comes with additional like stipulations, right? Like you want a dog, you want a puppy, here's a puppy, but you have to feed it. You got to walk it. You got to make sure it goes to the bathroom. You have to take care of it. And it's almost like people don't want puppies for the responsibility of having a puppy. People want puppies for every like all of the positives that puppies bring into people's lives. And they know that it comes with the responsibility of caring for it. The energy of like those responsibilities, those burdens, like the extra baggage, it came out at some point, but it didn't feel negative. It didn't feel like it had to be negative. It had a more positive connotation. It's like you find out that you actually love having to feed your dog because it gives you some kind of routine. It's like maybe it gives you a reason to wake up earlier in the mornings, or because you have to take your dog for a walk, like you've been wanting to like get outside more, get a little bit of exercise, like start your day off, but you just couldn't manage it for one reason, way or another. But having a dog and like having to take them out for a walk in the morning, It's like two birds with one stone type of energy. Hey, Kirsty, how you doing? You came to my mind. I was like, oh, I'm going live late enough. It's early over there. So yeah, it's just like it feels like it comes in a way that was completely unexpected. And maybe that's also why this transformation is so necessary with this Ten of Swords. Because it may come in a way that isn't expected, or because it may require something of you that you weren't able to give at some point. Excuse me, because again, strength is at the bottom of the deck. And it's almost like strength wouldn't be here if we didn't need it, number one, or if we didn't acquire it in some way, number two. Now, with this particular strength card, it's not forced. So it doesn't feel like something that we have to brute strength, which again takes me back to the energy of the tattoos on this Nine of Wands. It's because of all the things that we overcame and accomplished at this point that we can so easily transition into the sun. That is a part of the overall Sagittarius. It's like it's leading Sagittarius season. The sun should probably honestly be Sagittarius because I feel like a lot of the like positive attributes of Sagittarius you could accredit to the sun. Well, maybe not. Because I feel like it's more of like an organic being that isn't like heliophobic, I guess. Being in the sun. It's like a plant in the sun that like opens up. It's like it's almost like that feeling that's more Sagittarian than the actual sun itself. But anyway, now we have the sun. So this feels very Wheel of Fortune. I guess it depends on where you are, right? Um, what's interesting, like this feels very Wheel of Fortune. It feels very like topsy turvy. It feels very all over the place because, but it's almost like it catches up to where we knew it would be, but the way that it comes about is completely unexpected because it was the feeling. It's almost like we internalize Sagittarius, like cue, manifestation, whatever. You internalize, you visualize the feeling until it becomes your reality. The Nine of Wands is like doing the work to make it its reality, but it's the vision that really motivates this particular Nine of Wands. And it's like Jupiter begins to expand in all of these areas that we're unaware of, that we don't see. And then the sun provides it's almost like there's something happening over here and then it draws your attention and you have to look at it. I guess you can choose to. It grabs your attention. You can choose to address it or ignore it, but either way, it comes to your awareness. And then the first and last card of Sagittarius is shown, like came out face up. There are two cards face down in the middle, but it's the Sun and the King of Wands. It's like the Sun goes from being in Gemini to Sagittarius being this sun and fire. It's like it ends up where you expected it to. But where it starts is just like, that's why it feels like it's the Wheel of Fortune, because there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. A whole bunch of stuff. What's interesting or notable about this Sun card in particular is that there's some Sagittarius is temperance. Temperance is alchemy. Okay. I was like, there's a lot of like visual tie-ins and cues to this as well. Because what I noticed first is the banner of the sun and the dress of the person and the Ten of Wands. It's like this becomes, again, like that tattoo energy. The things that we overcome serve to help continue us forward in some way. And the choices and decisions that we make in the past can make it easier or more difficult in the present and in the future to go in a certain direction, right? Like if you decide to move to California, if you decide to move to the east part of wherever for whatever reason, and then you get an opportunity in the west, it's like that opportunity is still there, but because you just decided to move, now you have to take additional steps to like go to the west, and maybe you started in the middle. Like either way, with the sun card, you're gonna do it, right? But it's like it's more convenient, more or less convenient. And at the end of the day, with this Nine of Wands energy, Seven of Wands, it's like convenience doesn't matter. Like, and with the strength at the bottom of the deck, like it doesn't matter if it's inconvenient. Is that the High Priestess? It is showing herself. So I see this, and then I go back a card, and I'm like, oh, that's the dress from the Eight of Swords. It was a red dress. And the Ten of Swords, like there's like a shawl or whatever. What do you call it? Not a camisole. What's the thing? I feel like it starts with a C. It's not burgundy. It's not a corduroy. It's not a cobra. It's a cardigan. There you go. Like some kind of cardigan type situation. And then if I go one more back, I see the sash, the belt on this martial artist, and the Seven of Wands. Oh, you can't even see the banner now. And then if I go one more back in the Nine of Wands, there isn't anything. So from the Nine of Wands to the Seven of Wands, we like fully clothed, and this red takes over until it's ended at that Ten of Swords. But this becomes the flag under which the Sun card moves forward, and it ends with the King of Wands dressed fully in red. And it's almost like maybe with this Ten of Swords, we kind of put the cart before the horse in some kind of way, because it goes from like an orangey yellow color on the outside, like covering up the red, to like it being under the red. And again, maybe that's just a part of this like wheel of fortune. Everything is like topsy turvy. Again, this is like crazy energy, just like pictorially. But again, like Sagittarius is the Temperance is the alchemist. So I wouldn't be surprised. You had an indulgent at that was me like all of these previous days. So today I kind of forced myself to stay awake. And I don't know why, because I go back to work in 2 days. So red dress, no knickers. What? Really? Ooh, I'm watching Ugly Betty, and Molly put on a red dress because she stained her white one. Anyway, like there's no red in the strength card besides the flowers on the wreath of the lion. I gotta go to the bathroom. I will literally be right back. I'll let you digest this. Ooh, the seal is broken. right, I'm back. I washed my hands, I promise. I've been intentionally hydrating these past few days because I have been so dehydrated for like almost the past month. Okay. So I was in the restroom and it came back to my awareness that there was an energy, I think, around the time of acquisition that I lost it. I had it and then I lost it. Oh, yeah, it was the Three of Cups. Where's the Three of Cups? It's literally right here in front of the High Priestess. It was a Three of Cups energy. Also, with the High Priestess. The High Priestess was in that energy of acquisition. The things that we don't know that it comes with. Anyway. So I got it back and then I lost it again. With the Three of Cups. Oh, it was the like going back to Amsterdam instead of Belgium. It's like there were three people who were all convening. And it's like there were two for me, drawing upon my specific personal experiences. It was like there were these two things that were major lessons that I was learning, but then there was this other one in the back. And it's like when this one comes to prominence, it helps move these two forward. It provides a sense of context or direction that was previously missing. And maybe that's this, like, at some point the red introduces itself and then it like kind of takes over in a way. There's some present but background force that came in at some point to like really shift things. Also, again, it's like within one season, this is a lot of progress. I love that we're starting, or like in the overall Sagittarius season, that this is a sun card of a child and not a baby. So again, it's almost validating and verifying that like we're starting from experience because of the things. Oh, that's what it was too. It's like it's an energy where instead of like I have achieved everything that I wanted despite where I've come from in life and the things that I've experienced. Instead of that, it's like I have achieved everything that I wanted because of what I've come from. It's sort of like reaching that point and where like everything makes sense, or where some things that didn't make sense before make sense now. Not everything is going to make sense. Not every single thing always 100% for sure guaranteed happens for a reason and for your highest good. There are some things that are just like sucky, you know. But there's something about this that's like everything that you've gone through, it prepared, not everything. Some of these things that you've gone through in the past that maybe you had a certain type of relationship with, now you see how it prepares you for where you are now. And because of that, again, with this strength card, it doesn't require as much effort. It honestly feels like it doesn't require as much bravery or courage because you, like Scorpio season, made sure that it instilled enough experience within you. Like that show, that the anime that I'm watching that I was talking about earlier, with the heroes who tremble. There's a character who was like, when I fought my first monster, I ran too. I was afraid. But like when you get that resolve, all of your training pays off. When you reach that point where it backs you in a corner and you go, you know what, I'm gonna face this. I'm at least gonna try. And then it's like everything that left your brain when you were in that like fight or flight and you chose to flee, it's like now that training comes in and you can fight, you can overcome. Anyway. And then, again, we have the Valiant King of Wands. Now let's see. Oh yeah, so I mentioned it, but I love that this starts as a child, a clothed child instead of a naked baby. Um, just because, and again, it feels like it plays into that Moon and Sagittarius energy of like you had a feeling and an inkling of where you were going. And because you felt it and because it motivated you at some point, that also makes it easier to go like, this is the reason why I endured that. It's because of this. These two cards in the middle. Wow. It's the Five of Wands and the Moon. Sagittarius, Saturn and Leo, and Pisces. We have the sun and the moon, and we're not going to have an eclipse in Gemini. It's not going to be a full moon lunar eclipse or a new moon Sagittarius solar eclipse, but we did have those like 2 years ago. Or was it just last year? Because I think last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I low key feel like it was last year where we had a full moon Gemini lunar eclipse. Or was it full moon Scorpio actually last year? Anyway, within the past 3 years, probably like 2 years ago when the nodes were in Gemini, Sagittarius, we would have had the new moon Sagittarius and the full moon Gemini solar and lunar eclipses. This could also be like something from like a seed was planted in Gemini season that's now going to blossom and sprout and grow. And that was also the energy of the like something coming back that you thought was dead, but it wasn't. Also, that like the contextualized, like your guardian angel is reporting you to like Michael because it's so impressed. But it's like, you show up at work and you work diligently and you think that it isn't noticed, but it is. And then it's like you've been considered for something for quite some time, and now you're going to be made aware of it type of energy. Take it as it resonates when it resonates, if it resonates. Again, with the Eight of Swords, it just reads like, because of the card, something that you wouldn't see or something that you would not know. I think so. This is Sagittarius season. The Sun, the Five of Wands, the Moon, and the King of Wands. There are a few ways to read this. I feel like if I read it like this, like there's some kind of conflict between your internal and external selves, and ultimately with the King of Wands, like there's going to be some kind of resolution that wins out. I think there's also the like, if I kind of read it like the Sun and the Five of Wands, and then the Moon and the King of Wands, it's like externally things could get a little chaotic. The Saturn and Leo could also be like many things pulling on your time and attention. Saturn and Leo can also be like, there's like not enough hours in the day to get to all of the amazing things that you want to get to. Like Leo and its creativity and like fun loving nature and its highest, not highest, in a better light, not in the shadow of Leo. But it's like there's so many different things that pull on you in a good way that you can't commit to them all. And where that can be a source of like internal conflict. It's like good problems to have. There can be a lot of good problems that you're having. It's like, oh my gosh, I went from like not doing anything to like all of a sudden I've met all these people and everyone wants to hang out with me. But like Billy just invited me to his party, but I already told Sally that I was going to her party. What am I gonna do? It's like it's a good problem to have. So that was the Sun and the Five of Wands. Well, the Five of Wands could be that. But it's like there are conflicts externally, but there's some kind of internal, probably going back to this moon in Sagittarius, that's going to be your guide in this. It's going to make it easier to like know which one to devote time and energy and effort to. It's going to make it easier to like prioritize. It's going to make it easier to like make sure that while you indulge in all of the fun that the light of Sagittarius has to offer, you still like do everything that you need to responsibility wise. Because especially at the top, it's squaring Saturn and Pisces. Squaring Saturn and Pisces could also be a like, don't be short sighted type of energy. And it's like it's going off of the Piscean dream again, playing into that moon and Sagittarius, Nine of Wands. Like there is this bigger goal and this bigger vision in mind. So it's like, yes, you can enjoy where you are. You can let loose and relax and decompress after whatever Scorpio season was for you. But keep in mind that like now isn't the end goal. And it's just so that like our hedonism doesn't detract us from where we're ultimately going, right? Cool. Hold on, wait, what? Oh. All I read was like thruple, and I was like, what? But yeah, I had just went. It was kind of surreal. It was almost kind of very surreal because I went to Greenwich earlier this year. I went with my buddy. I was like, oh my gosh, like I saw that, and oh, I went there. I was like, what? That's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild. Excuse me. I feel like that's it. I feel like that's Sagittarius season. And again, I feel like the sun to the moon, Five of Wands to the King of Wands. And the King of Wands is like, yeah. It makes sense. I got it. I got it in the end. When I saw the context, I was like, okay, I understand. Maybe also this is just like Sagittarius is the returning light after a harsh Scorpio season. Or it's that feeling of being renewed. Cool. I feel like there is an abundance of Sag. Well, maybe not abundance. There's like Nine of Wands, Moon and Sag here, and we're in Sagittarius season. But then there's like Mars and Leo with the Seven of Wands, the King of Wands, fixed fire, Leo, the Sun, which is the Sun, which rules Leo, like then Five of Wands, Saturn and Leo. Like there's a lot of Leo energy here. And even strength at the bottom of the deck, which is Leo. But there's not a lot of Aries. I don't think there's any Aries besides Mars, but that's Mars and Leo. Mars is exalted in Leo, I'm pretty sure. So that's more like Leo than it is. That's Mars, that's more Leo than it is Aries. Um, so I feel like that almost contributes to this Sun card. How it's like, yes, it's young, but it's not a baby. So it isn't necessarily about, or it may not be as much about starting new things. It feels like again, because of that Nine of Wands energy, it almost feels like dreams or goals and ambitions that one has had for a while. Because it's like that's the fixed fire of Leo. And then the mutability of Sagittarius, it's almost like shifting from making do or making those choices until the thing happens to like switching into the thing and being the thing. And again, maybe the King of Wands, and so confidently because of all of these ways in which it was prepared. Nine of Wands, strength at the bottom. It doesn't feel like egotistical. It feels like it has a healthy ego, but it doesn't feel egotistical. This is one who knows who they are because they've proven it to themselves in the arena of life. Cool. So there we go. Sag season is looking very okay. Yeah, Sag. I don't know why I thought, because I didn't say Sagittarius, I thought I said the wrong sign. Sag season is looking very interesting. Also kind of like whirlwindy and kind of wild because again, like that Gemini, Sagittarius, like the death to rebirth to like establishment, how it was like wearing red was bad or wearing red caused the Ten of Swords, but that's because we covered it up with something else rather than like wearing the red on the outside. And I will get a final card and I will go to sleep. Yeah, like I don't know why I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule 2 days before I go back to work. Right? Yes. In 24 hours, I'll be at work. I'll be working. No. 48 hours. So I'm like shifting it to daytime just to shift it back to nights the next day. Ooh. The Star and the Three of Pentacles, Mercury, Mars, and Capricorn. Bottom of the deck is the King of Wands. If the King of Wands is fixed fire Leo, then we see its opposite here in the Star. Under the King of Wands is the Ace of Cups, and like supporting that Ace of Cups is the Three of Pentacles that came out with the Star. These are like opposites that are working together. Opposites that have learned to support each other with their differences rather than to allow their differences to be a source and a point of conflict between them. Cool. I think there's also with the Star in particular, I don't know if this is like prepping for Capricorn season, but maybe it is. Because it feels like there's some kind of divine revelation, some kind of insight, intuition, or something that one receives from the universe and from the divine and spirit at large, the collective subconscious, but then like brings into the world. It's almost like it sucks in the star dust, is transmuted within her, and then she pours out the water onto the earth. Also, that makes me think of the Ten of Swords and how King of Cups, and how in the Eight of Swords it was like puddles to that whole river. This is like overflow. And again, like this may be beginnings of figuring it out because that's what they're doing in this particular Three of Pentacles. It's like they're drawing up an organizational flow chart, or they're trying to graph out a system, and they're trying to see, like, it's like they know what they want to accomplish and they're trying to see how they can make it work. Like they're brainstorming, drawing up the blueprints. Capricorn season is going to build upon it, potentially. Capricorn season is potentially going to build upon it. But Sagittarius season is where a lot of the like knowledge and information is going to come from. Because now we're challenging everything that we learned to challenge in Scorpio season. Again, like this is a part where like Sagittarius goes out and experiments. It puts the theory, like it tests the theory against real life. And if it passes, it fills the textbooks of science and philosophy and everything else associated with higher education. It's not just a blind accepting of what someone else says, and it's not a blind accepting of what comes from one's own self. And then like Capricorn builds upon that and runs with it, right? So cue the self-exploration and anything else. Again, it feels like a time where boundaries may be like lowered, inhibitions may be like released. And again, very Sagittarian, right? And things coming in unexpected ways. So thank you, Holly and Kirsty and Janelle, for being here. I hope that you have I hope that you have whatever experience that you want to have. Because I realize and recognize that there are some people who want to be miserable. And if they want to be miserable, I should respect their wishes and desires for them. And some people don't want to be miserable. And for those who don't want to be miserable, I should do the same. So I hope that you are doing anything, everything, all that you can possibly do, while also giving yourself grace and understanding to make whichever you want your reality. And I hope that you have some kind of anchor, if you need one, to ground you amidst all of the changes, even if that anchor is a knowing of where it is that you want to go or a knowing of what's next. Because again, with that King of Wands, sometimes it can be one's own ambition that serves as wise counsel when it comes to making choices and decisions, right? Especially in a healthy way. There was a lot of healthy ego here that could obviously be taken to an extreme or absence. It can be taken to act. It can be taken to excess or absence. There you go. I was like, what's the word? And until next time, excuse me, keep on keeping on.